Hi friends. Today I want to address this really fiery emotion called anger. So we've all felt it. We all feel it from time to time. And different things make different people angry. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere and you're like, normally I would have done okay with this, but today this particular situation or person is making me angry for some reason. So let's look at anger. Where does anger come from? For me, I'm mostly angry when I feel like I'm not being listened to, or if I feel like I'm not being taken seriously. And it stems from perhaps a childhood conditioning of where I felt like I was not being listened to, or that my opinions were not being valued. And so that always carried on as anger. And in fact, growing up, I did carry a lot of anger. And what that means is I would express myself in very angry bursts, and I would be reactive to situations and to people, as well as to myself, just not being very kind to myself as well. Upon realizing that I was labeled as an angry person, and having these bouts of intense anger where I remember sitting in a therapist's office and realizing her saying to me, do you realize when you go from 0 to 1 million, where 0 being not angry to 1 million being so angry that you want to just burn the whole world? And I thought to myself, no, I don't. And so she said, okay, well, why don't you try and figure it out? Why don't you try and find what happens to your body? Find what happens in your mind that you're going from 0 to 1 million. It was very hard initially. I would say I have worked on being a non-angry person, a kind person, a humorous person for the last 15 years, and it's still a work in progress. And the reason I say it's a work in progress is while I can most times react with humor and taking it not personally, hence not feeling that intense anger, just the other day, I felt this intense bout of anger directed at somebody else. My first response was all of these thoughts that were going around in my brain of all the really hurtful things I wanted to say to this person. But I also had, and because of doing a lot of meditation practice and because of practicing how I did not want to be an angry person, and there really isn't an angry person, it's just a person who's feeling anger. However, going with that label that I had been given as a young person, I decided to examine the situation. And I thought, okay, I want to say these hurtful things because I want to hurt this other person. But I love this other person. And the reason I want to say these hurtful things to this person is because I'm hurting. And so that became the thing that I focused on. I am hurting right now. I am burning. And so if I went back to this amazing book by Thich Nhat Hanh, where I think the book's called Taming the Tiger Within. The first story in it is about this guy who someone else sets his house on fire. And so the monk asks, well, what is the first thing you're going to do if someone sets your house on fire? Will you chase after him and persecute him? Or would you put out the fire that's in your house? That has always stuck with me. And so that came to me that night as well, as I was really angry at this person and I wanted to say all these mean things, is, okay, I am feeling hurt. I am angry. Why don't I focus on putting out my own fire? Why don't I take myself for a walk, think about the situation, and really work on putting out the fire? And it wasn't easy. There were, I still had hurtful things I wanted to say to this person, and I kept reminding myself, keep saying those things to yourself, because those things need to be vented, but not to the other person, because you love them. You really don't want to hurt them. You only are doing this or feeling this is because you're hurting and you want them to know how much you're hurting. And upon that train of thought, the other train of thought that showed up was you want them to know how you're feeling. So where it ended up with that night is I felt a lot calmer. I took care of myself. I decided not to let my house burn down with fire, with the anger. I calmed myself. When I did meet the person again that evening, I said to them, the choices that you make in your life are your own. However, anytime those choices affect me and cause me hurt, I will have to let you know about them, because that is not something that I'm willing to go through and be in the way of. So you can choose whatever you want to choose. However, I would if that choice is then causing me hurt, I will definitely let you know of how I'm feeling. This is not something that would have happened 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I was labeled, as I mentioned before, an angry person. I was told by my friends and family, you are an angry person, don't be angry. In then wanting to work on not being an angry person, and in reality, there's not an angry person. As I mentioned before, it's a person who is feeling anger and who is perhaps directing that anger towards other people because they just don't know what to do with those heavy emotions. So what I learned to do, as my therapist beckoned, recognize when the anger had started, recognize it physically, recognize the thoughts that were showing up, and telling myself, these are because you're feeling hurt. You feel like someone else has hurt you and you want to hurt them. But rather than hurt them or hurt yourself, how about we put out the fire and find good reason and bring that reason up with that person so that they may know that their actions cause you to feel upset and hurt. That fire never needs to be directed internally or externally. It just needs to be put out. No matter what the cause, no matter how big the reason for that fire, it's never okay to react or to fully blast that fire at someone else or at ourselves. It is totally okay to set a stand and to bring clarity to a situation, saying, you did this, you said this, and that's a choice you made, and that's okay. This is how it affected me, and I need you to know this, because it's not okay. It's not okay for you to say or do these things because they really hurt my feelings, and bring that conversation up. So next time you feel this heavy emotion of fire, of anger, well, it feels fiery, of anger, maybe take one step back, feel it in your body, hear those really hurtful thoughts towards yourself and towards others. Take a pause, pour beautiful liquid cooling love over this fire as many times as needed until the fire's out. And then find the words to have the conversation with that person who set your house on fire. I hope this has helped for anyone out there who struggles with anger. Trust me, from someone who went from being labeled an angry person to have worked on her anger for 15 years to now be in a place where I myself would never call myself an angry person. And again, it doesn't really matter what someone else thinks. I know I'm not an angry person. Have a great day, friends.